Back-to-back bangers. This week I present to you a webtoon that is a must-read. 5 chapters in and it's amazing. However, it doesn't stop accelerating either. Let us find out what heights the webtoon Insector can reach. This action webtoon created by Marker Beam surprised me a lot. So let me give you a first idea by reading the summary to all of you. Humans are no longer at the top of the food chain. The creatures known as insectors hide amongst us, using their supernatural insectile powers to prey upon humans. Miseong, a seemingly ordinary high school student, is also secretly an insector, but unlike others of his kin, he directs his powers not at humans but at insectors instead. Will he maintain control over his abilities and use them for the good of mankind, or will he succumb to the monster within him? What do you think? It fits right into other shonen stories, but it leans more to the darker side. To describe it quickly, it feels like a mix between Tokyo Ghoul and Jungle Juice. Maybe throw a splash of Venom into the mix as well, and maybe some other things. Kamen Rider kind of makes sense for the transformations that we will see in the story. I've not found any other stories by Marker Beam, so this could very well be their first official story, and it is a very promising start, to me at least. Without further ado, let us hop right into my first impression of this bug-tastic new webtoon. To start it all off, Insector already has a darker atmosphere compared to many other webtoons. This is achieved because of multiple things, but the one that everyone can recognize is the rougher art style. But the atmosphere goes much deeper. We always say show, don't tell, and this is exactly how the beginning of Insector feels like. Not even halfway into the first chapter and we get a first twist thrown at us directly. This story pulls its readers in with a hype beginning, however it doesn't slow down in any imaginable way. We always need to remember one thing about Insectors: they live among us. I like the idea of insect powers. Obviously it isn't something unique to this story to give characters the powers of animals or specifically insects, but it just works, and especially so for insects. I just think they are interesting. Just imagine seeing a human-sized bug. It is enough to give me goosebumps just thinking about it. When there are insect villains, the bug reapers are to be expected. That already creates the question if the main character Miseong will remain a vigilante or if he will join them. To be honest, I'm not even sure if he's a vigilante or what his real objective is. Also, let me put that theory out there. How likely is it that the one at the top of the bug reaper is actually an insector themselves? They could be the Bug Reaper if they really are an organization that is entirely against the Insectors, or it is a hint in plain sight that the one at the top is the Bug Reaper themselves, the bug who determines who is going to die. It seems like the protagonist is capable of communicating with either all insects, making him some sort of king of insects, or just ants. Probably just ants. The other one feels way too shonen. If he actually has ant powers, that is quite funny, because that was something I had in mind for a story of my own that I'm working on right now. But hold up, some might think it's disgusting or even experience trypophobia, but Miseong is hiding a hole beneath a band-aid on his neck, and we saw an ant crawl out of that hole. So perhaps he is not an ant insector, but instead he is the entire nest. That would certainly be something I have never seen before. As this is set in high school, it is to be expected that there is also someone with a crush on the main character. She seems like an innocent cutie, but considering the story so far, yeah, considering the dark start, I don't know if she is just Death Fodder or something else. Once again, I have to repeat that the art style might not be for everyone, but the artist is doing a great job with displaying action and making it all flow well. It's just that there are so many webtoons with this solo leveling art style, let's just call it that everything else stands out. In my opinion, Insector's art style is great, and it fits the story perfectly. The main character's Insector form looks really cool. It's leaning to the more edgy side, but isn't that to be expected from insect super forms? Okay, so it seems like Ant-Boy is strong, as expected from an ant, but considering how big the world of insects is, yeah, he is not overpowered. Him having to deal with personal issues is also an interesting hurdle he has to overcome. Seeing more of how his powers work, it feels pretty much confirmed that he is an ant nest and not just a single ant, because he can organize how much insect powers is in certain parts of his body, and we have not seen other insectors do that yet. However, that does create the question if he is special, just like I said, or if there are other cases where insectors are not just a single insect but a colony or something. In many ways, our protagonist is special. That's to be expected from a main character after all. Insectors eat humans because they are the apex predators in the world. It is just simple like that. But the main character chooses to eat other insectors instead. I wonder what the real reason behind this decision is, but it could also just be something as basic as wanting to keep his humanity. Be it confidence or just carelessness, Miseong was already spotted by another insector when he transformed back into his human form. That for sure will have consequences. A little bit of lore has to be told as well. Insectors have been around since 2005 in this universe, but we have not yet been told in which year the story takes place. I'm just guessing it is modern, but that creates another big question. Why do people still believe that insectors are just urban legends if they existed for basically 20 years? You can't tell me there haven't been any posts on social media about them so far. Perhaps somebody is suppressing any and all news about these insect monsters. That would be interesting. Who knows? Maybe it is the very top of the Bug Reaper organization, because the people we see actually working for Bug Reaper seem like the good guys from a human perspective at least. The person leading the Bug Reaper squad we see in the first 5 chapters is actually quite smart. He is already coming to the conclusion that only one student not being at the scene of the Insector attack is quite suspicious. It isn't a confirmation, but at least a clue that they can follow, and most likely will do. In some ways he gives me Joker vibes, but the Fire Force Joker, not the one from Batman. Back to Miseong though. He lives with his grandma, and she is aware of the fact that he is an insector. That leads me to create theories about what could potentially have happened to his parents. Or maybe Granny is also an insector. She could be quite powerful. There's always the trope of an old character being insanely strong. With the bad news about insectors going around killing people, obviously civilians start to think that all these monsters need to be exterminated. So I guess it is up to the MC and maybe some other insectors to change their opinion in the future. I am quite impressed by how fast the story moves, but still managed to establish all the important things and flesh out a few systems and other aspects as well. This story works for both people with a short attention span who want a lot of action, but also for people who want more depth. So it's perfect for everyone. For example, just as there is an organization of humans taking care of insectors, there's also an insector organization. So far, I am unsure of their real goal, but it is either as simple as trying to take over the world, or it has some more extremely complicated goal. However, what is important for right now is that they want to get rid of the Black Ant, our protagonist. Not the Black Swordsman like Kirito or Guts, it's the Black Ant in this story. I really like the pacing of this story though, and I am intrigued by how deep the Insector society might go. Will we learn about their origin? What is the endgame of Miseong's story? And so many other questions. This also includes the relationship between our protagonist and the girl who has a crush on him. Nobody knows how that will develop. Because of how many humans are dying so far in the story, I am just scared how things will continue. That uncertainty could also be the main reason why Miseong is not getting close to any other people. He could put them in danger after all just by being close to them. It is a very classic thing in manga as well. There is a non-zero chance that Insectors work similar to stands in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, in the way that stand users attract each other. The same could be true for Insectors. We also still need to learn about how to become an insect. Is it just that they are born that way, or do they change into one after some sort of event? It could all lead back to some science experience like in many other stories. In the future, we will figure it out, I'm sure of that. Just like it is only a matter of time until the girlie finds out the truth about her crush being an insect. So far, it seems like Insectors do have specific abilities depending on the type of insect they are based on, but it hasn't gone into the direction of named attacks or skills so far. However, even without spouting out attack names, the main character is a menace, and that for a good reason. While all the other Insectors we have seen so far only hunt humans for food, he goes after other Insectors. This would mean he has much more fighting experience compared to anyone else, or at least the average Insector. But we still shouldn't underestimate the humans or Insectors either. For example, the humans, the leader of the Bug Reaper squad, who I compare to Fire Force's Joker, is also pretty cool. For the Bug Reapers, I have to question if their powers are weapons based from technology, or if they also have some abilities. The Bug Reapers are cool, but also just a bunch of doofuses. Good thing the main character got away from them before being questioned. Now we just need to know if they saw him in his human form or only in his black ant suit. We finish off chapter 5 with a banger reveal that creates another wave of questions. I won't spoil it for you, but it really pushed this webtoon even higher for me, which you will see in the ranking that is about to come up. Insector is another pleasant surprise on Webtoon, and I think it really is worth your time. Obviously, when you look at its core, it has multiple ideas we have already seen a lot, but it also shines with concepts that I personally have never experienced before. The main character still needs to be developed more, but I feel like it is a conscious decision to not have done that so far. He's holding himself back, always fighting against his insector instincts, so we have not really seen a lot of him just yet. However, this story is not only about the protagonist. There are also some side characters who are getting fleshed out and will play bigger roles in the future of this story. I'm pretty sure about that. The normal human girl, who also has a crush on the main character, will either die a horrible death or become an insector herself. That is what I predict for the future. For the Bug Reaper squad, I also see multiple deaths, but not before we learn their backstories and motives. There are many fun things awaiting us as we continue to read the new webtoon Insector. I teased you multiple times the ranking for today's story already, so let me tell you finally. On a scale from F to triple S, I gave this insect spectacle a high S+. Back to back S pluses. Webtoon truly is feeding us well. Tell me in the comments how you would rank this webtoon and let's all discuss why it's ranked like this. If you also want to find out what last week's S Plus was all about, you have to check out this video. See you over there or in another video. Pyro out. Bye!